Yo, Texas folks, picture this. You wake up one day, check your phone, and BM. A text from your mom, cold as an Amarillo winter wind. You're not invited to your sister's wedding. Sophie doesn't want you there. Your heart stops. You've shelled out nearly $100,000, yep, a fortune, to make your sister's wedding a fairy tale at the Willow Manor in Austin. From the swanky venue to imported flowers and a top-tier band, you footed the bill. And now, they've kicked you off the guest list like you're some random passerby. What do? Swallow the rage, or stand up for what's right. This ain't a Netflix script, it's my real story. I'm Emily, a 33-year-old coder who thought family was everything until they turned me into an ATM and tossed me aside without a second thought. I know y'all in Austin, Houston, or Dallas are thinking, no way, this drama's straight out of Reddit. But trust me, it's the raw truth. I was the big sister, always sacrificing, always nodding when family needed cash. Dad's car broke down? I paid. Mom's short on the mortgage? I covered it. Sophie needed an apartment deposit? I wired it. But this wedding? It was the last straw. Sophie didn't just take my money. She took my trust and self-respect. When that text hit during a high-stakes work meeting, it felt like my world collapsed. To be called a drama starter by my own sister, the one I adored, and asked just to appease her fiancé's rich family? That was a knockout punch I never saw coming. Y'all, I bet plenty of us have been used by family or friends. You feel you gotta sacrifice for love, only to get betrayal in return. Today, I'm spilling the whole story, from being turned into a money machine to the moment I said enough and took my life back. If you've ever been backed into a corner by the ones you love most, this story's for you. Stick around, cause this drama's not just fiery, it's packed with lessons on loving yourself right. You ready? Yo, Texas homies, if y'all thought my sister's wedding drama was the peak, hold up, let me break down who I am and how I got tangled in this mess. I'm Emily, 33, a coder living in the heart of Austin, city of barbecue, live music, and tech bros like me. I grew up in Denver, Colorado, in a regular family, not rich, but not scraping by either. My dad, Tom, was a high school teacher, my mom, Linda, a nurse. 4 of us at home, but the spotlight always shone on Sophie, my little sister, the pampered princess. Me? I was the reliable big sis, left to figure it all out solo, from homework to college scholarship apps, while Sophie got handheld through prom dresses and college essays. I'm not one to vent on our /ATA, but looking back, I was shoved into the fixer role early. Roof leaking? Emily's got it. Parents fighting? Emily mediates. And when I started making money, real money, it got worse. After graduating MIT and joining an Austin startup, my company got bought out, leaving me with a couple million at 28. Sounds dope, right? But to my family, I wasn't Emily anymore. I was a walking ATM, spitting out cash on demand. Dad's car broke? $5,000. Mom's mortgage short? $10,000. Sophie's breakup needed a new apartment deposit? Call big sis Emily. I thought I was helping family, but turns out I was just digging a deeper hole for myself. Y'all, I know plenty of us feel the pressure to save family, especially if you're the only one who made it big. If you've ever been turned into your kin's no-interest bank, drop a comment. I want to hear your stories. My tale's about to take a wilder turn when Sophie got engaged and made me the unwilling sugar mama for her lavish wedding. Stick around, cause this drama's just getting started. Alright, Austin, Dallas, or wherever you're tuning into this drama. Let's rewind to see how I got sucked into this bitter family trap. I'm Emily, raised in Denver, Colorado, in a modest 3-bedroom house where things were okay, but never flush. My dad, Tom, taught high school math. My mom, Linda, worked night shifts as a nurse. We weren't poor, but stuff like Disney vacations or new iPhones were pipe dreams. In our family of 4, me and my sister Sophie, 2 years younger, grew up with wildly different roles. I was the model big sister, the kid who did homework on time, cleaned without being asked, and taught myself how to fill out job apps at 16. Sophie? She was the family princess, pampered by mom and dad from picking prom dresses to drafting college essays. Emily's got it handled was their go-to line whenever something tough came up, from fixing leaky pipes to helping Sophie with her assignments. I'm not one to whine, but that unfairness cut deep. Sophie could mess up, find herself, while I was pressured to be perfect. If I dared say no to helping, Mom would sigh, "You're letting me down, Emma." Looking back, I see this family dynamic wasn't just love, it was an unequal system where I was shoved into the rescuer role, and Sophie was the center of the universe. Y'all, I bet some of you have felt like you had to carry the world for your family, right? If you were forced to be the grown-up as a kid, drop a comment. My story's about to hit the part where this role landed me in a massive financial and emotional trap, Sophie's wedding. Stick around, cause things are about to heat up big time. / Texans, listen up, because my story is about to take a wild turn, where my biggest success became the biggest trap. After years of playing the perfect big sister in Denver, I knew I had to break out. I got accepted to MIT on a full-ride scholarship, majored in computer science, and after graduating, I moved to Austin, the buzzing tech capital of Texas. I joined a software startup, worked 80-hour weeks, coded till my eyes burned, and loved every second of it. By 28, the company was acquired by a tech giant, and boom, I became a millionaire with a few million sitting in my bank account. Sounds like the American dream, right? But instead of blowing it on a Lamborghini or a penthouse, I bought a modest condo off South Congress, maxed out my retirement funds, and took a solo trip to Hawaii to celebrate. But to my family, that success wasn't a reason to celebrate. It was a winning lottery ticket. Suddenly, I wasn't Emily, the hardworking daughter. I was rich Emily, the one who could fix every financial problem. Dad needed a new car because the old Ford was toast. I sent $5,000. Mom got her hours cut and couldn't make the mortgage. I wired $10,000. Sophie broke up with her boyfriend and needed a new apartment deposit in Denver. I paid 2 months rent up front. Every time they thanked me, but it was the kind of thank you that felt like I owed them. I thought I was helping, doing my duty as the eldest. But I didn't realize I was being turned into an ATM, and my family had no plans of stopping. If you've ever felt like you have to pay for your success by carrying your whole family, drop a comment and share your story. Because the next part is going to hit hard. Sophie gets engaged, and this ATM is about to be drained dry for a luxury wedding. Don't go anywhere. The drama's just heating up, / if you're following this drama from Austin, San Antonio, or anywhere else. Pause for a second, because I need to break down why I let my family turn me into an ATM in the first place. After becoming a millionaire at 28, I thought I was doing the right thing, helping my parents, covering Sophie's rent, being the big sister I was raised to be. But eventually, I realized I wasn't just helping, I was trapped in something called the helper syndrome. Sounds clinical, right? It's a psychological term for people like me, who constantly sacrifice their own well-being to fix everyone else's problems, often at the cost of their own needs. Have you ever felt like it was your job to fix everything for your family, even when it drained you? That's it. That's the syndrome. In my family, I was programmed to be the fixer. My parents cast me in the role of Emily will handle it, while Sophie got to be carefree, make mistakes, and live like a princess. Psychologists say families like this create toxic cycles. The helper ties their worth to their sacrifices, and everyone else takes advantage, without guilt. I started reading posts on our / raised by narcissists, and wow, so many stories mirrored mine. People paying off cousins' debts, people giving up dreams to support their parents. I realized I wasn't alone, but I also realized I had to save myself. If you've ever been forced into the family hero role, drop a comment. I want to hear how you broke free. Because my story is about to hit the wildest chapter yet. Sophie gets engaged, and I'm dragged into a wedding that doesn't just drain my bank account, but nearly robs me of my dignity. Stick around, this drama is about to explode. / okay, buckle up, because my family drama is about to explode like a Texas storm. After years of being the family's human ATM, I thought I was used to being taken advantage of. But then Sophie, my younger sister, got engaged, and everything spiraled into territory I couldn't even imagine. Sophie met Ethan, a ridiculously wealthy guy from Boston, the kind of guy with a Cape Cod summer house and a bank account bigger than my entire life plan. When they announced their engagement, after just 8 months of dating, I was genuinely happy for her. Sophie called me, gushing about her 2-carat diamond ring and the sunset yacht proposal. "Emily, I want you to be part of my special day," she said, and I believed her. But then she mentioned the venue. The Willow Manor, an ultra-luxury wedding estate in Austin where just the venue rental alone cost $25,000. I asked her directly, "How much are Mom and Dad contributing? What about Ethan's family?" Sophie hesitated, said our parents could only offer $10,000 and Ethan's family hasn't agreed yet because they think the couple rushed things. Then she got teary-eyed. This is my one big day. Ethan deserves the perfect wedding. I knew I should have said no, or told her to scale back, or at least wait. But sibling guilt, family pressure, and that pleading voice got to me. Fine, I'll cover the $25,000 for the venue and maybe a few other things, I said. Sophie lit up, hugging me through the phone. You're the best sister ever? At the time, I thought I was doing the right thing. But little did I know, those few other things would balloon into a $100,000 wedding, and my generosity would be trampled without mercy. If you've ever been pulled into family drama like this, drop a comment and share. Because what happens next? It's a plot twist that'll leave your jaw on the floor. // the moment I agreed to pay $25,000 for Sophie's wedding, I thought that was the end of it. But no, my friends, that was just the beginning of a financial tornado that ripped through my wallet like a Texas storm. 2 weeks later, Sophie invited me to lunch at an upscale Austin restaurant, the kind where even a salad costs $30. Of course, I paid. She slid a wedding spreadsheet across the table and pointed at the final number, $120,000. I nearly choked on my drink. Sophie, that's the price of a whole house in the suburbs, I exclaimed. She was unfazed. Come on, this is a reasonable amount for a dream wedding. The Willow Manor is just the starting point. Then she flipped through a bridal magazine, showing me Dutch imported orchids, custom silk tablecloths, and a live band that once played at a celebrity rapper's wedding. I asked, what about Ethan's family? Aren't they contributing? Sophie avoided the question, saying they were still deciding. Then came the tears again. I need this day to be perfect so Ethan can be proud. Once again, I gave in. I agreed to cover more. Flowers, the dress, the photographer, another $50,000. But Sophie's attitude changed faster than Texas weather in April. Gone were the "you're the best sister ever" texts. Instead, I got messages like, "Can you wire $5,000 for the linens before we lose the reservation?" No please, no thank you, like I was her personal bank. I started tracking everything in a spreadsheet, not to control her, but to stay organized. Sophie called it obsessive and told her best friend I was trying to take over the wedding. I kept swallowing my pride, thinking I was doing this out of sisterly love. But little did I know that love was about to be stomped on hard. If you've ever had family turn your generosity into obligation, drop a comment and share. Because in the next part, things get even uglier. I get kicked out of the very wedding I paid for. // spending $75,000 on Sophie's wedding was already enough to leave me stressed, but what happened next felt like a slap straight to the face. I thought I was an important part of this big day, but Sophie started slowly excluding me from everything, as if I was just a walking wallet. I'm a software engineer in Austin, juggling meetings and deadlines, yet I always tried to join tastings or flower selections via FaceTime. But Sophie made sure to schedule everything when I couldn't attend. Oops, sis, I must have gotten the time wrong, she said with fake innocence when I asked why the dress fitting was during my big presentation. Anyway, we already put down the deposit, so it's not that important. One day, I left work early to surprise them at a tasting at the Willow Manor. When I walked in, I saw Sophie laughing with my mom, Linda, and Ethan's mother, Margaret, the kind of elegant woman with perfect highlights and a permanently judgmental gaze. Emily, what are you doing here? Sophie asked, clearly flustered. Margaret looked me up and down like I'd just walked out of a gas station. Oh, Sophie didn't say you'd be joining us, she said, her tone icy. The whole tasting, I was treated like an outsider. Margaret kept criticizing the food as too plain and suggested more expensive alternatives, which I knew would end up on my tab. Sophie nodded along with everything Margaret said. My mom sat there in silence. I tried to speak up, but I was interrupted every time, like I wasn't even in the room. And the worst part? Later, I overheard Sophie whispering to her best friend on the phone, Emily is being so dramatic. Just because she's paying doesn't mean she gets to control everything. My heart sank. It felt like salt being rubbed into a wound. If you've ever been sidelined by your own family after giving everything you had, time, money, love, drop a comment and share. Because what's coming next is even more brutal. I get kicked out of the very wedding I paid for. // I had tried to endure Sophie's ingratitude, Margaret's condescending stares, and the feeling of being pushed aside, even after spending nearly $100,000 on her wedding. But nothing could have prepared me for the biggest shock of all. That day, I was in the middle of an important meeting at my company in Austin, presenting a new security feature to the executive team. My phone kept buzzing on the table. Normally, I'd ignore it, but something told me to look. I apologized, glanced at the screen, and my heart nearly stopped. 3 texts from my mom, Linda. Emily, we need to talk about the wedding. There's been a change. Sophie doesn't want you there. I read those words over and over, like they might vanish if I blinked. Not invited? To a wedding I paid for down to the last detail, from imported orchids to the band? I rushed to the bathroom, my hands shaking so badly, I almost dropped my phone. Then came the second message, worse than the first. Sophie says you're too controlling, that everything's about you and your money. Ethan's family agreed to contribute $50,000, but only if there's no drama. And finally, please respect Sophie's wishes. This is her special day. Respect? After I poured my sweat, tears, and finances into making that day happen, what broke me wasn't just the exclusion. It was learning that Sophie told Ethan's family I had mental issues, like I was some ticking time bomb. My self-worth shattered. I gave everything out of sisterly love, only to be betrayed like this. If you've ever had family turn their backs on you after you gave them everything, drop a comment and share. In the next part, I'll tell you how I took my life back from this wreckage. Stay tuned, because things are about to explode. / After getting the text from my mom that I wasn't invited to Sophie's wedding, I stood frozen in my office bathroom, feeling like my entire world had just collapsed. Not only had I been betrayed, but my own sister accused me of having mental issues, just to make herself look good in front of Ethan's family. But as I started digging into what was really happening, I realized this wasn't just regular family drama. It was a psychological pattern known as narcissistic family dynamics. Sounds complicated, but let me break it down. In families like mine, there's usually a golden child, Sophie, who gets praised, pampered, and treated like the center of the universe. Then there's someone like me who's pushed into the role of the caretaker, expected to sacrifice everything to make the golden child shine. My parents, Linda and Tom, unknowingly created this system when I was young with their favorite line, "Emily will take care of it, anytime something needed fixing." According to psychologists, this kind of dynamic creates a toxic cycle. The golden child learns to demand and manipulate, while the caretaker's entire worth becomes tied to what they can give. I've read dozens of posts on our /raised by narcissists, and wow, it was like they were writing about my life. Some were forced to pay for their siblings' tuition, others pressured to give up dreams to care for their parents. Realizing I wasn't alone helped me stop blaming myself, but it also made me furious. I had given Sophie and my family everything: money, time, love, only to be kicked out of the very wedding I paid for. If you've ever been cast as the servant in your own family, drop a comment and share. In the next part, I'll talk about how I chose to end that role and how I started taking my life back. Stick around, because this is where I start fighting back against the whole system. The text from my mother saying I wasn't invited to Sophie's wedding after I'd spent nearly $100,000 felt like a knife straight to the heart. But standing in the office bathroom in Austin, tears mixing with rage, I felt something I hadn't in a long time: absolute clarity. Enough. I wasn't an ATM. I wasn't a servant. And I sure as hell wasn't someone from my family to walk all over. I immediately called my mom, voice trembling but firm. "Mom, if I'm not welcome at the wedding, then neither is my money." She stammered, asked me not to hold a grudge, but I cut her off. This isn't revenge. This is a boundary. If Ethan's family wants to pay $50,000 to have me gone, they can pay the full $100,000 I've already spent. I went back into the meeting, finished my presentation like a machine, then took emergency leave. At home, I spread all the wedding contracts across the table: venue, flowers, photographer, band. I called Susan, the manager at the Willow Manor, who had worked with me for months. "Susan, I need to cancel everything," I said, calm but resolute. She was stunned. "Emily, what happened?" I replied simply, "I've been uninvited from the wedding I paid for." Susan was sympathetic, confirmed I could get 25% of the deposit back if I canceled 72 hours in advance. "Cancel it," I said. "If Sophie or Ethan want to keep the reservation, they can pay for it themselves." I kept calling each vendor, caterers, florists, lighting, canceling everything I could. Every call felt like reclaiming a piece of my freedom. If you've ever had to set a boundary with family, even when it broke your heart, drop a comment and share. In the next part, I confront Sophie directly, and this drama is about to blow wide open. / After canceling every single wedding contract, from the Willow Manor to the band, I felt like I had just lifted a 1,000-pound weight off my shoulders. But the drama wasn't over. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Sophie was calling. I'd let her go to voicemail all day, but this time, I decided to face her. "What are you doing?" Sophie screamed as soon as I picked up. "The Willow Manor said everything's canceled. My wedding is in 3 days." I kept my voice calm, even though my heart was racing. "That's right, Sophie. If I'm not invited to the wedding, then I'm not paying for it." She shrieked. "You're jealous. You've lost it. You're ruining my life." I let out a dry laugh, not out of joy, but from sheer disbelief. "Jealous? Sophie, I paid nearly $100,000 so you could have your dream day. But then you said I had mental issues and cut me out to impress Ethan's family. Now it's your problem." Sophie started sobbing. "Mom was right, you're having a breakdown. You can't do this. Everything was already booked." I cut her off. "Everything I booked, and I have the right to cancel. If Ethan's family wants a wedding, they can pay for it. Good luck." I hung up, my hands shaking but my heart feeling lighter than ever. Then I logged into the wedding planning site I had spent months building, seating charts, timelines, vendor contracts, and deleted everything. Not a trace left. That was the moment I took back control not just of my money, but of my dignity. If you've ever had to stand up to family to protect yourself, drop a comment and share. In the next part, I'll tell you how Reddit helped me rediscover my power. And trust me, this drama is far from over. // After I hung up on Sophie and deleted the entire wedding website, I sat alone in my Austin apartment, feeling both powerful and hollow. I had drawn a boundary, but my heart was still heavy. Had I gone too far? Was I really the saboteur Sophie claimed I was? I needed an outside perspective, and that's when I turned to Reddit, the holy land of raw advice and juicy drama. I posted my entire story on r/AmITheAsshole, from paying $100,000 for Sophie's wedding to the text disinviting me. The title, AATA for canceling the wedding I paid for after being uninvited? Within hours, the post exploded with thousands of upvotes and comments. "NTA, your family are leeches," one person wrote. Another said, "You're not an ATM. Standing up for yourself is the right move." I teared up reading those replies. It felt like the whole world was wrapping me in a hug. Then I browsed over to r/raised by narcissists, where dozens of people were sharing eerily similar stories. Older siblings forced to cover family debt, eldest daughters giving up dreams to support their parents. One post read, "My family called me selfish for refusing to pay for my sister's wedding." Reddit helped me realize I'm not crazy. As I scrolled, it was like finding a lighthouse in a storm. Reddit didn't just support me, it gave me the language to name the pain. Golden child, scapegoat, toxic family. I realized I wasn't alone. And more importantly, I wasn't wrong for protecting myself. If you've ever drawn strength from an online community, drop a comment and share. In the next part, I'll tell you how I fully disconnected and began healing from the wreckage. Stick around, because this story is about to turn into a powerful new chapter. / After canceling the wedding and confronting Sophie, I knew I had to get away, not just from my family, but from the emotions that were suffocating me. I couldn't stay in Austin, where every street corner reminded me of the drama. So I booked a cabin in Big Sur, California, a wild place with pine forests, empty beaches, and the roaring Pacific waves. No Wi-Fi, spotty phone signal, pure goodbye world vibes. I brought a journal, and for 7 days I poured everything out. The pain of being slandered by Sophie, the rage toward my parents for not protecting me, and the grief of realizing I had let my family define my worth for far too long. I wrote like I was spilling my soul onto the page. On the 3rd day in Big Sur, I hiked to a hidden waterfall deep in the forest. I tore out the journal pages that held my pain, the lies, the manipulation, the times I was used, and let them float down the stream. Watching them drift away, I felt a weight lift off my chest, like I was shedding an old version of myself, the Emily who always sacrificed, who always said yes. I was no longer the family's fixer. I was Emily, someone who deserves love without having to pay for it. Big Sur taught me that freedom isn't just walking away, it's choosing yourself first. If you've ever found peace by disconnecting, drop a comment and share. In the next part, I'll reveal how Sophie's wedding fell apart and how I began to rebuild my life from the ashes. Don't go anywhere. The next twists are wild. / While I was reclaiming my peace in Big Sur, Sophie and the rest of the family had to face the consequences of what they had done. After I canceled every contract with the Willow Manor and the vendors, Sophie's dream wedding fell apart. She had no choice but to host a scaled-down version at Ethan's family's golf club in Boston, an upscale place, sure, but nowhere near the opulence she'd bragged about on Instagram. According to my Aunt Sarah, who was a bridesmaid, the wedding was a mess. Sophie snapped at everyone from servers to the band because nothing was perfect the way she imagined. Ethan kept disappearing to take work calls, and my parents, Linda and Tom, looked like they wanted to bolt. The guest list was cut in half, the imported flowers replaced with cheap centerpieces, and the menu resembled a golf course buffet more than a luxury celebration. But what hurt the most was how they explained my absence. Sophie and my mom spread the word that I had been hospitalized for health issues, a vague phrase meant to dodge questions, but enough to make people think I was unstable. Not a single word about the nearly $100,000 I paid, or the fact that Sophie uninvited me to appease Ethan's family. They controlled the narrative, painting me as the troubled one, while Sophie played the victim of unfortunate circumstances. I didn't celebrate Sophie's wedding collapse. She's still my sister. But I realized this was the natural consequence of her own choices. If you've ever had your family twist the truth to cover up their actions, drop a comment and share. In the next part, I'll talk about how therapy helped me start healing and rebuilding my life. Stay tuned, because this story is entering a powerful new chapter. / returning to Austin after a week in Big Sur, I knew I needed more than a getaway to truly heal. The drama with Sophie and my family had left deep scars, not just financial, but emotional. I started therapy with Dr. Lee, a psychologist in Austin, and it turned out to be a life-changing decision. In our first sessions, I opened up about the helper role my family had placed on me, how Sophie had always been treated like a princess, while I was expected to be perfect. Dr. Lee helped me realize I had let my family define my worth through what I gave: money, time, energy. "Emily," she said, "boundaries aren't punishment. They're how you show love to yourself and teach others to respect you." That line lit up something inside me. I started practicing boundaries immediately. When my mom called to invite me home for Thanksgiving, I declined and instead volunteered at a local Austin community kitchen for out-of-town developers. For Christmas, instead of going back to Denver, I threw a party with friends, tacos, and live music on South Congress. I also redirected my generosity. Instead of bailing out my family, I funded a $10,000 coding scholarship for underprivileged girls, something that made me feel more fulfilled than I ever imagined. Every small step, saying no to my mom, choosing my chosen family over my birth family, investing in my community, became a brick in rebuilding my self-worth. Therapy taught me that I don't have to be the perfect big sister to deserve love. If you've ever set boundaries with your family or found strength through therapy, drop a comment and share. In the next part, I'll tell you about a surprising twist. Sophie apologized, and I had to face the question, can you forgive? Stick around, because this story is about to hit you right in the heart. / 11 months after the wedding drama, just as I was starting to find myself again in Austin, an unexpected letter showed up in my apartment mailbox. I recognized Sophie's handwriting immediately on the pale blue envelope. My heart pounded. Should I open it or tear it up? In the end, I opened it. Inside was a card with a short message. "Sis, I owe you an apology. Can we talk?" No blame, no excuses, just a sincere admission. I consulted with Dr. Lee, and after a few days of reflection, I replied, "Coffee. Tuesday, 3 p.m. I picked a small cafe in East Austin, one that didn't carry too many memories. When Sophie walked in, I almost didn't recognize her. No designer dress, no meticulously highlighted hair, just jeans, a ponytail, and a bare face. "Emily," she said, her voice trembling, "Ethan and I are getting divorced. It's the right decision, but it forced me to face myself." She took a deep breath. "What I did to you, using your money, uninviting you from the wedding, lying about you, was unforgivable. I was so obsessed with impressing Ethan's family that I lost the most important sister I had." I sat there and listened as Sophie admitted she had been living a fake version of herself, chasing an Instagram fantasy instead of her real identity. She said she was moving back to Denver, training to become a teacher, trying to build a life that was honest. "I don't expect forgiveness," she said, eyes watery, "but I need you to know that I see what I did. I didn't make any big promises. I simply said, 'Sophie, I appreciate the apology. We can start slow if you mean it.'" If you've ever received an apology from someone who hurt you, drop a comment. In the final part, I'll share how I turned this pain into power. Stay tuned. This is where the story finds hope. / Sophie's wedding story. The nearly $100,000 I spent, and the betrayal by my family wasn't just drama. It was a journey that helped me rediscover who I really am. In Austin, through my time in Big Sur and in therapy with Dr. Lee, I learned that boundaries aren't selfish. They're how you declare, I deserve respect. I used to believe my worth came from being the perfect older sister, paying for Dad's car, Mom's house, or Sophie's dream wedding. But when they cut me out of the wedding I funded, I realized real love doesn't require you to sacrifice everything. I rebuilt my life, chose real friends, funded scholarships for young girls, and learned to love myself without needing validation from my family. When I saw Sophie again at the cafe, I saw a flicker of hope, but I wasn't quick to forgive. Forgiveness is a journey, not a destination. What matters is that I no longer let my family define who I am. If you're struggling with a toxic family, remember, you're not alone. Set boundaries, find communities like r/AmITheAsshole, or try therapy. That's your power. Comment below if you've ever had to stand up for yourself, or tell your story on Reddit and tag me. I want to hear it all. If this story resonated with you, hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next Reddit drama or life lesson. Thank you for being here, listening to me grow from someone used and discarded to someone living fully for herself. Stay strong, and I'll see you in the next video. /